see who they're sending out to replace Smithy?
I'm afraid they don't consult me on these matters.
I was in the office yesterday morning when the signal came through, and the warrant said they're sending out Bob Grant and his family. Do you know them?
I was on the same section as him at Wittering. Right pain in the neck.
I don't know, Bob. If you fell into a septic tank, you can't smell the roses. How'd you wangle a Hong Kong posting?
Wangle? You're joking, aren't you? Just about the last thing I want.
I thought you didn't like this place. Not as good as the last posting.
Well, I don't. I'd rather be here than stuck in a plane for 24 hours, travel 10,000 miles, and end up doing the same job in sweltering heat.
Bob, it's the details of our flight from the booking centre.
Oh, yeah?
Well, you know, I was worried about how we get to Bryce. They've sent us a railway warrant to Swindon, and then they pick us up from there.
Fine.
Oh, and then we can either stay overnight at Gateway House, or else report an hour and a quarter before the plane leaves. Bob, we'd better cut down on the hand luggage, because we'll have the carry cot and all the baby stuff, as well as the 2 kids.
That's good.
You've not listened to a word I've said, have you? Are you interested?
Oh, knock it off, love. I'm trying to watch the football.
Now, look here, Bob. We've had 2 months' notice of this posting, and as yet we've done nothing about it. Now, let's go through this information together.
All right, love. If that's what you want. That's anyway. Where did all this stuff come from?
If you've been listening, I told you. It's from the Services Booking Centre in London.
The Services Booking Centre was formed in 1970 and brought together both service and civilian personnel from all 3 service departments. It is a joint service unit, but is functionally controlled by the Director of Movements, RAF, on behalf of all 3 services. The responsibilities of the Services Booking Centre include arranging the preparation and documentation of families for movement to destination abroad, and providing passports and visas for personnel proceeding on duty journeys. Detailed passenger lists are sent out from here to Bryce Norton and all other units concerned, 48 hours before the departure time of each flight. This list shows the various categories of passengers. After the flight folder has been opened, a seating plan must be compiled. Families are seated together wherever possible.
Apart from the single people, who does that leave?
Well, there's Corporal Grant. Here's a wife, 2 walking children and a baby.
You keep the children away from the emergency exits. We'd better give them a 3 and a 2 here.
Yeah.
The duty passenger officer is responsible for checking the list and arranging staff cars to meet VIP and certain other passengers. Also for ensuring that coaches are provided to meet passengers arriving at Swindon railway station. All these arrangements take place 48 hours before the departure time of the flight.
Sergeant Campbell.
Yes, ma'am.
Coach from Swindon for flight 2464 should be arriving soon.
Yes, ma'am. Everything's arranged.
Where's Mrs. Bain, the Priority 1 compassionate case, who's visiting her son in hospital?
Mrs. Baines is in the outbound lounge. She still seems a bit confused.
For various reasons, there are frequent changes to passenger lists almost up to the time of departure.
SPC Amendments 2464. Thank you.
We've got to replace 2 families, the Blakes and the Rogers, with 6 slip crew members.
Pity, just when it was looking good.
Good evening, Mrs. Bain. I've just come over to see that everything's all right. Have you flown before?
No, I know you're going to think me awfully silly, but I haven't. Not only that, but it says something about this being a special flight.
Yes, that's right, it is. There are other people like yourself on the flight. You have to get out to Hong Kong as soon as possible.
But is it safe?
It's perfectly safe. It's just a special flight going out to Hong Kong for troops.
Excuse me, is this flight 2464?
Yes. What name is it, please?
Corporal Grant.
Could I have your documents, please?
What documents?
Your passport, your medical certificates, and your family information form.
Oh, blimey, I left all that to the White Angle a moment.
You did mention about them in that information we were sent.
I know that, I just forgot where we put them.
The boarding cards have been prepared before the arrival of the passengers. And now that Corporal Grant's documents have been checked, an entry is made on the flight check board to show that these 5 passengers have booked in.
I'd like to put your luggage on the scales, please.
Yeah.
Next, the baggage is weighed. He or his wife has labelled all the cases correctly.
64.
The bottom half of each label is torn off and handed to him for retention throughout the flight. The family is entitled to £298. A running total is maintained as each passenger books in.
45.
And this shows that Corporal Grant and his family have added £260 to the total weight.
There are your boarding cards. They are your right to employment and must be retained throughout the flight.
Thanks, pal.
The baggage master checks the destination labels and then puts the luggage on one of the trolleys marked for Kai Tak. As the flight is not due to leave until 10:30 hours tomorrow morning, the baggage will be locked in the hall overnight.
Can I have your attention, please? Will passengers who have booked in for flights and are waiting for transport for Gateway House, please board the RAF coach standing outside the terminal building. Thank you.
That's a VC-10, look. Those things cost a fortune, you know.
You're always on about money.
Hey?
Gateway House is designed to provide maximum comfort for passengers. All problems associated with travel are taken care of, so they can relax, enjoy their meals, and have a good night's sleep.
Yep.
A plan is provided marking the location of the bedroom and the nursery, together with the key and tickets for the evening meal and breakfast the following morning.
What about a call in the morning?
What flight are you on?
2464.
Call will be 7:15, breakfast 7:45, transport 8:45.
Bit early, isn't it? I'm a very heavy sleeper, you know.
Don't worry, we won't let you lie in. All right, thank you.
May I have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen? I'm now going to call you forward to your aircraft. When I call out your seat row number, please will you go forward through the doors, and the movements personnel will take you out to the aircraft. Please will passengers holding boarding cards, seat row numbers 25 to 29, go forward and board by the rear steps. Seat rows 25 to 29 by the rear steps.
This is it, Mrs. Bain, your flight. All you have to do is go over to the gate and give the airman your boarding card. Then he'll take you out to the aircraft.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, but it does confuse me so.
It must seem strange flying for the first time. But anything that troubles you or you don't understand, please don't hesitate to ask a member of the movement staff or the cabin crew.
One of the peacetime tasks of Air Support Command is to transport members of all 3 services and their families and government officials to and from overseas bases throughout the world. This means that an average of 20,000 passengers and 2,000 tons of cargo, mail and personal baggage pass through the Royal Air Force airfield at Brize Norton each month. To carry out this task safely and efficiently requires a considerable amount of behind-the-scenes organisation and pre-planning. Long before the passengers receive their early calls, preparations for the flight are continuing behind the scenes. With everything well underway and all the seats allocated, it's time to make the final calculations on the aircraft's trim sheet. The trim has already been worked out. Now, with the final figures available, this can be amended and completed using the variation sheet. All calculations must lead down the sheet to within this envelope to trim correctly. The Air Movement Squadron has to work at high pressure to ensure that all preparations are completed in time. So there has to be a standard operating procedure in which every facet of the organization plays its part at the appropriate stage. The trim sheet, coupled with the variation sheet, is checked and then signed by the duty air movements officer. Then, sufficient copies of the passenger manifest for each destination along the route are handed to the airload master, responsible for the flight, together with the cargo manifests, the mail manifests, and airway bills. While this is going on, the VC-10 captain, co-pilot, and other crew members are carrying out their final checks.
They're checked at 134,000.
May I have your attention? Passengers on flight 2464 to Hong Kong. Passengers holding other than United Kingdom passports, or any passenger wishing to seek the advice of a customs officer, please report to him now at the entrance to the departure lounge. Thank you.
The airload master takes the trim sheet to the captain for signature 35 minutes before takeoff.
Very many families on board?
Yeah, there are 20 families, 10 infants.
While the final preparations are going on for Flight 2464, the Air Movements personnel are busy dealing with other aircraft arrivals and departures.
Load. ETA VC-10 flight 2156 from Akrotiri. It's being brought forward 15 minutes. ETA now 9:15 Zulu.
9:15 Zulu? Yeah, okay, I'll sync them up. Okay.
May I have your attention, please, passenger on flight 2464 to Hong Kong. Will passengers in seat rows 1 to 11 please make their way to the departure lounge? Thank you.
That's us, look. Look, I'll take all the stuff. You bring the baby through, all right? Come on, over here. Come on. Mark knows you.
You want to have your boarding pass, please?
Yeah. So. Oh, blimey, look at that.
What, love?
The radio's in the bag and the batteries are still in it.
Now, don't get yourself in a flap. I took the batteries out before we left home.
Oh, thank God for that.
Remember, I was the one that read the booklets.
I still had plenty of time to get it out, you know.
The Air Movements loading team is busy fitting up to 5 tons of passenger baggage into the underfloor holds of the VC-10. In addition, some 1,500 pounds of high-priority cargo is loaded for route stations, together with official mail and newspapers. Also loaded is sufficient frozen food in containers to feed crew and passengers for the complete round trip. To ensure flight safety, it is essential that all these items are carefully stowed and restraint barriers properly fitted in the aircraft holds.
May I have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen? In a few moments, I will be calling you forward for your aircraft. When I call you forward, please fully extinguish all cigarettes and...
To reduce ground handling time to a minimum, the Duty Air Movements Officer's final brief is confined to matters of immediate fact. The boarding cards are coloured yellow for the front door entrance and white for the rear door. The airman at each door checks each boarding card to ensure that he has the right people for the right flight and tears off the boarding pass. brochure issued by the Director of Movements, RAF, is supplied to each passenger on the aircraft. This gives full information on flight conditions, restrictions, and emergency drill regulations.
Where's your seat? Oh, thank you very much. I'll just put this down and take the bag.
Mrs. Grant will only have to hold her baby on her lap for the takeoff and landings. Then she can use the skycot and seat provided.
Excuse me, Sarge. Can my wife have the window seat?
Well, we've given her this seat intentionally for easy access of the baby.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
All right. How many on board?
60, ma'am.
Thank you. How many on board?
65, ma'am.
That's 60 to the front steps and 65 to the rear.
One missing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right, step away.
Right, Oscar 2464, taxi down.
2464 is taxi 08, left-hand Curfew 1014.
Roger, is set 5, point nose up for takeoff.
Your numbers?
We've got 1 and 2 on, standby on.
Flight instruments.
Roger, we'll be checked in the left and right turns as we taxi out.
Request your PLB.
PLB 91.
Roger, 91 of your planes when ready to copy.
Once the aircraft is taken off, all units along the route and the services booking center must be notified of any changes in the original passenger list. This is effected by dispatch of the final enplanement signal.
Sarge, my wife would like a word with you.
Would it be possible for me to go down and feed the baby now? I'll take it to the nursing residence department.
Now they're flying east at between 33 and 35,000 feet, and at an airspeed of 590 miles an hour. After leaving Akrotiri in Cyprus, the aircraft is heading for the tiny island of Gan, where the Royal Air Force maintains a route staging post.
Good morning, Mrs. Bain.
Good morning to you.
Unfortunately, your aircraft has become unserviceable, and it will be delayed for about 24 hours.
Dear, I'm sorry I don't mean that as it sounds, but I'm on my way to see my son. He's in hospital, you see.
Yes, I know. Let me explain what we've done. There's a scheduled VC-10 coming through here in about 6 hours' time, and we're going to transfer you to that flight. And you'll arrive in Hong Kong only about 5 hours later than you would have done on your original aircraft.
But my luggage is all on the other aircraft.
That'll be transferred as well, and we'll travel with you on your new aeroplane. Thank you.
Ah! I'm Major Peacock. Why the devil wasn't I told about this delay?
Well, I'm sorry, sir. We don't normally inform passengers individually, but there have been several announcements on the hotel Tannoy system in the last half an hour, and we find that normally this is sufficient.
I see. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
A watchful eye is kept on children of all ages. Experience shows that they are extremely adaptable to travel and soon settle down. 2 airload masters and 2 stewards look after the passengers' needs.
Is that the score, sir?
Any chance of a beer? A cold one if you've got it.
I'm afraid alcohol is not allowed on our shipment aircraft.
Not allowed? But I'm parched.
It was all in that information you thought you didn't need to read.
3 squashes then, please.
Jane Grant has obviously studied the Joint Services Air Travel Guide thoroughly and had noted the item advising her to carry a pair of light slippers or sandals in her hand baggage to wear during the flight. Passengers are free to move about the aircraft, within reason, of course. The aircraft will need to be refueled at each staging post, when passengers will deplane for a short stop.
The ETA of VC-10-2464 is 2230 Zulu. Lay on step party and baggage vehicles, will you please?
The air movement staff make the necessary arrangements for handling the passengers well ahead of the arrival of the aircraft. This calls for careful, detailed planning, because interference and unforeseen incidents could cause serious delays and upset the inbound and outbound flight schedule of this and other Air Support Command aircraft along the routes.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please remain seated until the aircraft finally comes to a rest, the engines have stopped, and you have received your deplaning instructions. Will you then collect anything valuable from the cabin, and you may leave the aircraft as directed by a member of the crew.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to reboard your aircraft. Could you please reboard the aircraft from the steps you left on and have your boarding cards ready for inspection? Thank you.
Hello, Grant. This is Mrs. Bain. She's travelling with us to Kai.
Oh, hello. Nice to meet you. Come on, settle it.
2464, clear takeoff, surface wind 1207 knots.
Just going to have a look down the back. Steering 087. You have control. Captain off intercom.
Roger, I have control.
bulletins, which are passed around at regular intervals, tell passengers the aircraft's speed, height, position, and estimated time of arrival at the next destination.
An insane amount of sea. I never knew there was so much water.
Shall I put the baby in the sky cot now, madam?
Oh, thank you very much. I think she could do with a sleep. Come on. There we are. Off you go.
As the flight continues, the same routine is followed, that of providing meals and looking after passengers' comfort. Arrangements have to be made at Singapore ahead of the arrival for a quick turnaround. A number of passengers will be leaving the flight and others will be joining for the leg to Hong Kong. The turnaround time is 1.5 hours. Again, to keep to this tight schedule, advanced planning is paramount.
Where are the kids?
Oh, there, over there, with Mrs. Bain. Don't worry, she'll keep an eye on them.
Very nice. With Kai Tak the final destination, arrangements must be made by the air movement staff for the reception of the passengers and their baggage, and transport to take them to their units, married quarters and hotels.
Corporal Jones, I understand you'll be meeting Corporal Grant and his family at their married quarters in your road. Transport has been arranged, so you can expect them in about 3 hours.
Yes, okay, thanks.
After travelling 9,000 miles, passengers are inevitably tired and apprehensive. This calls for understanding and tact from the movement's personnel. They are at hand to assist with any problems that arise in connection with the dispersal of passengers from the airfield.
Thank you. How is he? Oh, thank you very much.
Excuse me, sir. I'm Corporal Grant.
Oh, yes, you're for RAF Kai Tak.
That's right, sir, yes.
Yes, your transport's downstairs. It's a J2 outside the exit, and it will take you to your accommodation.
All right, okay. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Come on, Ross.
The arrival of one group of passengers in Hong Kong is followed up by the dispatch of different passengers to the United Kingdom in the same VC-10.
Now you two get in the way and go down to the street.
Go on, hurry up, kids. Here you go, Christopher. I quite enjoyed that flight.
Better, thank you. Very much better. Lovely.
Hello, sir. What are you doing here?
For the air movements personnel stationed at all terminals and staging posts, it's a challenging but exciting job. Their training and resources are directed towards efficient and expeditious passenger handling and contribute directly to the high standards associated with scheduled services operated by Air Support Command.